I'm often asked what books I would recommend to divorcing or separating parents. And of course, there are quite a few. Let's discuss just one today, one that describes the role that fathers play in their children's lives, especially their boys. And I don't mean to diminish the role of mothers, and I will cover books that talk about motherhood in a future video. But I think just in general, as a society, we more readily recognize and understand the role and the importance that a mother plays in her children's lives. And frankly, if you want to recommend a book about motherhood, feel free to do so below, and I will gladly check it out. But the book we're going to talk about today is called The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell and John Gray. And it both describes and even quantifies the roles that fathers play in their kids' lives. John Gray wrote Women Are From Mars, Men Are From Venus. Men are from Mars, Women Are From Venus. Wow, I haven't read it, so I don't remember the title. And honestly, I'm far more interested in the chapters written by Warren Farrell. You know, Warren was elected to the National Organization for Women, the leading feminist group of the 1970s, 80s, and I would say even 90s. He was elected to the New York City chapter 3 times. And in The Boy Crisis, he discusses all kinds of things that are unique to the father-child relationship. One of them being roughhousing, which teaches assertiveness versus aggressiveness and boundaries and even empathy. And I'll just give you an example from my own life where I've seen this in action. And any dad who roughhouses with their kids, I'm sure has had this same experience where, you know, you're wrestling, you're having a great time, and then out of nowhere, your kid decides to smash you in the family jewels. Aside from being rather unpleasant, it becomes a teachable moment where you can show that you're very upset and set the boundary that this cannot happen again. Otherwise, roughhousing is not going to happen. And again, I just bring that up because I think it's one that pretty much any dad that roughhouses can relate to. Dr. Farrell also discusses how dads teasing their kids, fills much of that same role. It can teach empathy and teamwork, and it can help you bond with your kid. And people have to realize children are going to be teased, and when dads do it, in general, they're going to be very good at pushing the envelope without crossing the line. And if you have, in particular, a son that works in a male-dominated field, let's say he becomes a firefighter, he better be used to getting teased. It's going to happen. And it's important that he understands how to negotiate that. Another example that Dr. Farrell gives in the book is he talks about dinner time and kids being forced to eat their vegetables. So dads are more likely to make the demand. Again, I'm generalizing, so I say more likely to make the demand that the child has to finish the peas to get the ice cream. And sometimes they'll even tie it into roughhousing. Finish the peas and you get to roughhouse with me. Moms are more likely to make it a negotiation. Like, okay, Timmy complains about eating all these peas, and mom says, well, just finish half of them and then we can move on. And both are important, but I just wanted to point out kind of the difference there and help you realize that, you know, dad demanding it creates the boundaries, and mom doing the negotiation teaches its own skill. Also in the book, he has this meme where dad is throwing his, say, about 3-year-old kid up into the air. And from dad's perspective, child's going about 3 feet up into the air. The kid, from his perspective, feels like to the child he's going 10 feet in the air. And then mom sees it, and mom sees the child going 30 feet into the air. And again, that doesn't describe everybody, but I've seen that in so many situations. It really rang true for me. I would say the most important portion of the book are the 4 must-dos of divorce. This is very important, so please listen carefully. The first must-do of a divorce in the book is equal time with both parents. The second ties into that, and it's that parents must live, number two, parents must live no further than 20 minutes apart. And the reason being is because if you want a child to spend equal time with both parents, by the time they're in high school in particular, they're going to have a group of friends, and you don't want them to have mom friends and dad friends, and they're going to have after school activities and sports. And you want them to be able to do that freely and openly and see their friends, no matter whether they're with mom or with dad. And the third one is obvious, but it's worth stating. No bad-mouthing the other parent. There's another book called Divorce Poison by Dr. Richard Warshak. That one's a good one. It will go into a very scientific explanation of why this is a terrible idea. Don't ever badmouth the other parent. And then number 4 is to do couples counseling. I can't say that I've done that myself, but I think it's a great idea for parents to become better co-parents. And easier said than done, I realize, for people that are divorced or separated, but if you can do it, you both agree that it's a good idea, do it. Now, you can get a good synopsis of the boy crisis in Dr. Farrell's TEDx talk. I'll link to that below. It's really illuminating, but that said, the book is a really rich read. I read it, and then I listened to the audio version. I do want to point out, though, that the book is broken into essentially 2 books, with the first portion being written by Dr. Farrell, and then the final 10 chapters, 10-ish, I should say, chapters are written by John Gray. And he primarily covers medication, and in particular, ADD medication. And I just don't know enough about the science to recommend that portion of the book. It might be very relevant and useful to you. I'll let you make that call. Now, on a related note, I love podcasts, but I just haven't found any that are particularly good when it comes to parenting after a divorce or separation. So if you have any to recommend, please share them below. And as always, thank you for listening.
Love you, Daddy.
I love you so much, Bubby.
Love you, Daddy.